Yo, what up? Welcome to another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. I'm Patrick, and I am joined for a victorious Game 7 edition of this podcast. I'm joined by my good friend, Aram in Toronto. What's up, Aram?
Oh, man. I'm relieved in Toronto. Man, Game 7s. Game 7s are a thing. We don't get them too often, and that's why you like sports, right? Because it can really go either way. I don't know about you. You had asked if I wanted to come on, and just projecting ahead because I'm a negative Nelly, as has been stated before. You put out on the Discord. You ask people on game day what's their prediction. Of course, Negative Nelly me. I predicted a loss, and so I was already. I had my notes. Like, what are my notes going to be? Like, Patrick, you're Joe Lacob. What do you do? That was one of my questions.
Not yet.
that has been kicked down the road. And man, this is I personally, I'm also quite relieved in Toronto because usually I don't have to come on here and talk to you after losses too often. So I was kind of dreading that. And that's why I came up with all these notes. So I had an agenda of things to talk about rather than cursing left and right.
Yeah.
Well, what about you? How were you feeling going into this?
I had said, well, first off, so the Warriors, they beat the Kings 120-100 in Golden One Center. And I'll be honest, like after game 6, I mean, everybody, all of us were so frustrated. It was an abysmal performance.
Would you say easily the worst loss of the dynasty? Maybe worse than Memphis last year? Maybe not.
No, I mean, it really, really depends on what you mean by worst. Like, is it like the worst feeling or the worst impact or the most lasting impact? And considering the circumstances, it was pretty bad. But for me, nothing is worse than Game 7, 2016,
sure.
or Game 6, 2019, when you lose Clay to the ACL after you lost Kevin Durant the game before. So in terms of impact, everybody was healthy, and there was still another game to play, even though there was a lot of frustration. And
maybe the most frustrating game of the dynasty.
Yes,
up there.
And I think, to me, all of the criticism was legit. I don't think anyone that I talked to or listened to or anyone rational was like, saying ridiculous stuff like these guys are bums or anything like that. But we'd seen how this team operates all season long. And it was just a microcosm of all of that in a game that was right there for the taking. Yeah. And I thought that is what was frustrating. And so like I had told myself, like, okay, I'm prepared if this team loses. I had said a couple months ago that I just want a fun ride in the playoffs. That's it. I wanted them to get to the tournament and just compete and go as far as they can and leave us some lasting memories. And I didn't want it to end after one round for sure.
Oh yeah.
But I was like, okay, it could go away, but I definitely didn't want it. Once the game started, though, like all the tension, like I wanted it really, really, really bad. You know what I mean? I was like sweating, and I really wanted this win. And we were obviously eventually like not disappointed. I don't even know where to start. I mean, you can start with Steph, man. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about you want to have fun, have a good ride here with this team, have memorable moments. Well, you got one today, 50 points in a Game 7. I think they had a graphic in the broadcast that it's the most points ever scored in a Game 7 in NBA and ABA history, which is pretty damn cool. I think one of the things going into it, and again, talking on the Oakland Warriors Discord, some of us were saying, Mike Brown played his card in Game 6. What's Kerr's counter? What's the card Kerr is going to play? And I was like, well, It's obvious, Jonathan Kuminga, who didn't even play a meaningful second. Um, the card Kerr played was Steph Curry,
Yeah.
which is a pretty good card to play. It's one of those cliches that and you and I talk about it. You mention it all the time. Having the best player matters, and in a game 7 when so much can go either way, he showed up, and really, not a lot of anybody else did. I mean, the effort was there, and I think that was the huge difference from game 6, is that the effort was there. Even if Clay wasn't hitting shots, the effort was there. um, Wiggins was great, and of course Looney, 20 plus rebounds. I think another stat they threw up was the first time 3 games of 20 plus rebounds. I
Mhm.
forgot what the time frame they said was, um, but that's pretty historic. So, um, heart of a champion, those kinds of things. The thing is, we didn't see it all year, right? And we didn't see it in game 6, right? So this is the kind of thing we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for what I was thinking about just before this was like, we've been wanting to see brilliance, we've been wanting to see desperation, and we saw brilliant desperation today. So um
Mhm. Mhm.
so that it's only round 1, but at least it came together well.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to me that this was just the first round. Steph, that was like a legendary performance. And,
Hmm.
not to get too hyperbolic, but that was amazing. Like,
Yeah.
that was legitimately amazing. I was encouraged at the beginning of the game because they were all focused and they were playing with effort. At first, they were like keeping their turnovers low, and everybody was, they looked like they were playing in game 5, but it was also the Kings were playing at the same level too. And I'm I'm just stunned, like Steph literally put this team on his back. He
Hmm.
got any shot he wanted wherever he wanted. And it helps that the Kings, gooey middle isn't that good. So he
Yeah.
could get to the cup pretty often. And I mean, he only had 5 free throws in this one. I mean, 38 minutes, 20 for 38, 7 for 18 from 3, only 3 for 5 from the line, uh, 8 boards, 6 assists, 50 points. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's wild.
that was stunning at age 35 to drop 50. When they showed the stat on TV, I think Steph had 45 points, and they showed that like KD had 48, the most game 7 points. And I was like, oh, I want 50, man.
Yeah.
He can get that super easy.
Definitely, I really wanted that.
That he wanted 50 as well. And I mean, there was slander in general, but there was also questions and there was doubt. And like I said, fair criticism. But
Hmm.
I was really, really like, I was like, dang, this kind of performance is the stuff that a guy who still has his physical abilities and has the skill and the mental acumen, like
Hmm.
that's what extends a prime, right? Like the
Hmm.
ability to pull all the stuff off and to execute what your mind knows. Because when you get too old, like you can't do those things,
Yep.
and when you're too young, you can't think those things, you
Yep.
can't react to those things. But he's still in that part of his career, and I mean, this just vaults him up. I mean, this was an all time performance. I could not believe it, and throughout the game, when Clay was shooting poorly, when he and Poole were like 1 for 11 at some point in the game or whatever, I was like, somebody else has to step up to do
Hmm.
it. And Steph was just like, I don't know if anyone else is going to do it. I'm just going to do it.
Yep.
And that is something like, yeah, I don't say this often. And I don't say this often about Steph, but that was very Jordan esque to me.
Yeah.
Like people underestimate Steph's dominance. And that is something because he gives up the ball so much. He doesn't
Yep.
just say, like, I'm going to put this on my shoulders. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take 38 shots. He was like, he knows too that there's change coming and even more change if they lose early.
Hmm.
So he was like, I'm going out guns blazing. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? Like this is well, if we lose this, not because I didn't try my hardest.
I saw the 38 shot attempts. The stat of that, and scoring 50 on that, and then you think, why doesn't he shoot that many more often? you know, but no,
He
it's
would
true. I mean,
fall apart.
yeah, I mean, everybody was playing so tight, right? As evidenced by seeing, Wiggins missing all those free throws. Clay just like, oy, not looking like the Clay we're used to, right?
Max
And
Clay, max contract Clay wasn't doing his job.
no,
He
no,
was making a case for it early
and
on.
hey, it happens, right? That it was happening on the King side too. You look
Yeah.
up and down their stat lines. Nobody shot well, and in the end, it was that brilliance that won out, and being kind of selfish and not going out. That at the end of the day, like you said, if we're going down, it's gonna be him. And we've said through the years, you have Steph Curry, you have a chance. And yeah, man, legendary performance. And we know none of us wanted to get to this game 7. I think that was part of the disappointment of game 6 as well, is that it seemed
Hmm.
like a missed opportunity. But now that we did, and we got a national game, uh, like people all saw this, the stuff that we see so frequently, um, and a player that took it beyond what we normally see, right? And
Hmm.
so, yeah, just like legendary. I mean, this is gonna go down for a long time. This is one of those NBA on NBC games in the '90s where you hear about it because it had such a good amazing platform, right? So I'm hopeful that a lot of people see this. I mean, he really did uh, do a lion's share of work. I will say that Looney was incredible. I think we were worried that they would kind of reduce his role with some of the small ball adjustments that the Kings made in Game 6, but it seemed like they wanted to stick with Sabonis, and Looney just dominated him again, again
Hmm.
and again. Just over and over. That third quarter, one of the things in the dynasty run with the Warriors has the third quarter was always that wave that was coming, and it was
Hmm.
usually
Hmm.
like um like a wave of 3 pointers and just beautiful game stuff, and there that always had like a sense of inevitability, right? And we haven't felt inevitable about this team once this year. I don't think, like, the only inevitability this team has given us is like being or like erratic, which is the opposite of inevitable, right? So, but it was interesting to see that third quarter because it was a different kind. Like they were missing shots, but it was the energy, it was the hustle. Like Wiggins was everywhere, um, and it was something different that we don't see as much from this.
Hmm.
This is not a dominant team anymore.
No.
They have their spurts, and they have a dominant player. So in this situation, it worked out for us. Going forward,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, what your playoff preview plans are, but we'll worry about that maybe in a few hours.
Yeah. When Steph was, clearly trying to put this team on his back early on, I was like, man, he's gonna have to get some help from somewhere,
Mhm.
someone else, because I was like, if he can't stay hot the whole game, then we're in trouble. But then as we started closing into halftime, I was like, oh man, if the Warriors could get like even a 1 point lead, I was like, that's when the Kings are going to start feeling a little tight, right? I mean, they were already tight. Both teams were tight going
Mhm.
into this one. But then it was funny because as the third quarter started coming to a close, started getting to like the second half of the third quarter, and that lead started building, you just kind of like blink and be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and then once they got I think they had like a 10 point lead, 12 point lead going into the fourth. I mean, that's huge, right?
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
this game, when there's that much, I figured at that point it might be over. Not
Mhm.
to say that the Kings couldn't come back, but that the pressure of a fourth quarter being down 12 when you're watching Steph do what Steph does, like all of a sudden you're going from like, oh, who's the best player in this series so far? Steph or Fox, because Fox has played so well and been so impactful. But then Steph starts looking like, you know, basically the Hall of Fame version of himself. And it's like, whoa, like Hall of Famer versus uh first time All-Star. Like that's when I was like, I don't think the Kings can come back unless we get a catastrophic collapse. And I didn't assume at all that Steph would allow that to happen. And
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but did Kerr play all the starters from the beginning of the fourth until it was garbage time?
No, he put in Poole and Gary Payton. Remember Gary Payton had a
Yeah.
closeout block on Keegan Murray.
Right.
So
Okay.
he stole a few minutes. He stole a few minutes, so they didn't play
Right.
the whole way through. But yeah, I was thinking that too. Yeah,
They definitely had the starters to start the fourth and taking that 12-point lead to try to build on it and at the very least not smoke it away. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
So like if you even look at the box score, it's like the starters, Dre plus 25, Looney plus 25, Wiggins plus 25, Steph plus 25, Clay, team high plus 30. And then you go into the bench and it's Gary Payton minus 13, Dante minus 6 in 8 minutes, Poole minus 2, Moody minus 5, Kaminga minus 4, but that was garbage time. So like the starters did what they're supposed to do. Basically, it was like, okay, show up and perform. And, with Steph leading the way, like, and Looney leading the way in terms of rebounding, that was huge.
yeah,
They just did what they were supposed to do. And that's what you lean on. This felt to me a little like that Spurs series that the Warriors lost back in 2013. And, I know that one didn't go 7, but it was one where, the Warriors kept pushing and threatening, and it was like, oh wow, this young new team. But then execution, overwhelmed by experience and just that the Spurs own championship DNA and all
yeah.
that stuff.
There's a lot to be happy about, I think, after this game. Um, they're moving on. One of my notes, though, that I had done before the game started, because again, thinking of the thought of coming on here and having to talk about the off season. But I think this question still matters, and maybe we can kind of zoom out a little bit. Is obviously the results matter in a series, right? Whether you advance or not.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, uh, you know, do you overreact one way or another because of a result going one way or another? And then so win or lose, this is what I wrote: win or lose, what did you learn today? And is that any different if the outcome was different?
I learned that Steph still has this,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, uh, again, this was uh, one of the most dominant performances I could have ever seen from him. And we saw how well he played against Boston to win the title last season. We saw some amazing performances early on, but he looks like a guy who knows he can just do this, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing that really, really, really impresses me. I know he's known he can do things, but he was like, all right, to hell with everything else. Uh, I'm going to win this game. And as long as you have that, you have a chance. Matchups are matchups, right? Like there's going to be different matchups with other teams and whatnot with the Lakers next. But, you know, they still need to get more
Yes.
from other guys. I mean, that's
Yeah.
bottom line. Like what I said at the very beginning of the game was true, right? But the difference was that Steph didn't go cold
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he dropped 50 points. Uh, if that doesn't happen, like where are they? They're still really thin. Well, we talked about this on the Discord. You said this, and I talked about this after Draymond got suspended for game 3. I was like, the Warriors potentially could look like the 2019 Warriors where it was Steph and Alfonso McKinney,
Yeah.
Jonas
Jonas
Jerebko,
Zarevko. Yep.
Quinn Cook. That could have been kind of like this or this could have been kind of like that if Steph doesn't do what he does. They need contributions from elsewhere. The Warriors were lucky because, like we said, the Kings were tight and across the board. I mean, the Warriors shot like trash from the free throw line, right? That
Mm-hmm.
third quarter was like, what, 3 for 14 or something ridiculous. They were 19 for 30 overall, but the Kings were 16 for 27, right? So the Warriors 63%, the Kings shot worse at 59%. The Warriors only shot 32% from three, but the Kings shot 25%, you know? And in terms of rebounding, the Warriors have been worked so many times in terms of rebounding. The Warriors out rebounded the Kings 55-49. At a certain point, it was like, you know, 44-32. The Warriors were out rebounding. And the Warriors also had more offensive boards. So credit to Looney, credit to everyone battling down there. Because if you look at the starters, rebounds, Draymond only had 6. Looney had
Mm-hmm.
21, like you said. Wiggins had 7. Steph had 8. Clay had 5. And that was clearly a big part of the game plan, not
Yeah.
trying to give them as many second chance opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I guess I learned today is that, Steph is still that guy, but are the others the others? And I guess I don't know if I've learned that today, but I
Right.
have even more question than ever. But again, I mean, I think Wiggins was quite good. And Looney was great. So, does it mean that those guys are the kind of ascendant players in terms of their importance? And, certainly in this series they were. Um, and I guess you just live to see another day and see if the
Mm-hmm.
others can kind of come along for it. So it's tough,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I think the other thing is like, uh, I don't know, if it's something I learned, but it was interesting to see that, it never seemed like they um figured it out, right? They never seemed to
No.
figure out this series, right? Like, yeah, um maybe the only thing they figured out is that they could attack the paint, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which they didn't do in, like, the first game and parts of the
Yeah.
second game. But beyond that, it was frustrating because it they just never could really uh, impose much other than Steph and Looney. But it was
Right.
enough, you know, they were lower seed for a reason, very inconsistent. The Kings were not. They were very consistent all year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they were who they are the whole time. And when we did our preview, I think I definitely took them lighter than I think a lot of us I think a lot of us did. And partially because we played them 3 times in the beginning of the season, and then once in a game where they didn't play any starters, so there wasn't much to go on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly they had a great year. So it was just like a really interesting chess match, and thinking back on it, like, um if this Kings team was the Kings but didn't have Mike Brown as their coach, would they have caused as many problems as they did? Or, was it a personnel thing? I mean, you saw that they went away from Davion Mitchell, which was interesting. It
Right.
worked in terms of Davis
Maybe a mistake.
hit more shots, yeah, but arguably Mitchell played better defense on Curry. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be one that it gets teased out, I'm sure, on their end. I mean, it was kind of funny to see the handshake line at the end, and Davis was just like shaking his head while he was talking to
Yeah.
Steph.
Yeah.
Just like he was just like, I think he mouthed something like "Wow," like he was just like in
Yeah.
disbelief. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have a point about that, but the chess match was the strategy chess match was different in this series than I feel like we've seen in the past. So um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that bodes for the future in the next series. If is that a brain drain thing, or is that just they had an inside guy, right, who knew how to
Mm-hmm.
mess around with some of our things, or is that just all on the players, or is it just like a little older and a little slower? I think it's probably a little combination of all those.
I mean, if I look at just game 6, I put a lot of that on the players,
Yeah.
on the Warriors players. And in this one, I mean, Wiggins did all the great Wiggins, playoff Wiggins things, except hit shots.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
that 5 for 16, he smoked a couple bunnies.
I kept dying for one of those threes going down, and it just never did.
Yeah, and he'll get those more in the next series. I think that's, just the averages play out, and Clay will too. And love Clay, man, but like, after the game 6 loss, just the platitudes he always speaks in his pressers, where it's like, I never count us out. I'll go to battle with these guys, and like, heart of the champion, and it's
Yeah.
like when he started coming out and this gates, and he was just missing every shot. I was just like tweeting out, I was like, oh, that's not good for his
No.
max contract argument. You know what I mean? If he goes and the Warriors lose and he goes like 3 for 15, that does not bode well for his future in that way. But again, like, I didn't know this Kings team obviously as well as I do now. I didn't know how good De'Aaron Fox was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I didn't know that, like, as a team, the kind of matchup problems that they would give to the Warriors. And I mean, during our series preview, I said they would kick one because that's what they do, and then Mike Brown is just pure coaching acumen and knowledge of the Warriors would give them another. I mean, Mike Brown was pretty good throughout, and the Warriors kicked. You could say they kicked 1 and 2,
Yeah.
split the difference
Really
maybe, but then,
yeah.
and then they kicked 6, right? Number 6. So game 6. So I was like, well,
that one
those habits.
might be the Mike Brown stolen game.
Yeah, exactly. And the De'Aaron Fox just, took over. But game 2 was the one I thought they really kicked, and then I didn't expect game 6. So I put that on the players, and they got to hit shots, plain and simple, right? And that's it. Rebound, defense, play shots, keep the turnovers low. I mean, one stat that I didn't read off was like 7 turnovers for the Warriors. Are you kidding me? 7 turnovers. This is a team that regularly chucks the ball to the other team at least 16 times. But then the Kings only had 8 turnovers. It's like, what? These teams were like super tight, but they apparently were really, really careful with their passing. And then they were even 23 fouls each. So it was really, really odd. But this is a good Kings team. And I think like meeting that challenge should be, I don't necessarily think a confidence booster, but it's something that is definitely an accomplishment. It's more than beating the Nuggets in the first round last year.
Oh, so, yeah. I think maybe one of the other takeaways too is that they won 2 road games in this series. And that was a huge question. Like, this was the worst road team out of the playoff teams or whatever they were. And
the worst road team out of the non-lotto teams.
Yeah, right. Even worse than some of those, right? So, could they win 1 on the road? And it turned out they won 2. So, I think that's gonna. I mean, they're the home team in the next round, so that's a little bit less of a urgent matter. But going forward, if they advance, they will be the road team again. And realistically, like when you're talking about the top teams, like there's good chances you're gonna lose at home once, right? So can they win 2 on the road? And they proved it. So I think that's a really encouraging thing to take away. I mean, I had told you at some point, maybe after game 6 or so, is like I could easily see this Kings team getting to a conference finals, so they beat a good team, like they beat a really good team. And that's not just saying that because we're, because they gave us a hard time, like they are legit good. They are legit good. And they have some pieces for sure. Okay. So you want to talk Lakers a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
Get these guys, rush them off to the cryo chamber. Do a little extra time in there. Get them freshened up.
48-hour turnaround to or a little more than 48 hours. I think I'm guessing they're playing at like 7.
And that was like
Tuesday.
Yeah, that was like one of the more frustrating things about this. I mean, at least they are not having to travel back from some Midwest city or something like that. They're probably on the bus right now.
I mean, if they were playing on the road and they were playing somewhere beyond Sacramento, say they were playing in Denver and then they were playing Memphis in second round, just like last year, they would probably fly straight from Denver to
Yeah.
Memphis if this was like that
Yeah.
situation. But instead, they drive back down to SF and then they stay there.
Yep. Yep.
You
Which is
know,
nice. Yeah.
so yeah.
I mean, do you have any like initial thoughts about the Lakers?
Um, I mean, the Lakers ever since the trade deadline, they've worried me. They've been a totally different team, obviously, since they got rid of Russ and made all those moves. They do worry me. They do worry me because LeBron is always going
Hmm.
to be LeBron. Although in the Memphis series, it was clear. I mean, you point this out to me that he looks a little bit older. He picks and chooses his spots a little bit
Yep.
more. And I will say that at least because he is older than Steph, Steph looks still younger than him. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Steph has a better motor
Yeah.
than LeBron. And so, like, when it comes to best player in the series or who can execute what they need to when they can, like, I mean, this 50-point game gives me a lot of confidence in Steph. But, the Lakers' size, uh, Anthony Davis is going to be a problem.
Yep.
He's not Domantas Sabonis.
Nope.
And
Nope.
is Looney going to be able to stay out of foul trouble, hold him? Is Draymond going to be able to do the same? And, you know, for the Lakers, they have more shooting. Like, is anyone on that team going to step up? Is D'Angelo Russell going to go from like, a 3 for 16 game to all of a sudden having like the game that he had in the closeout against the Grizzlies in
Yeah.
game 6?
Yeah. Chances are high. I mean, he's so volatile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variables out there. And I think it'll be a great matchup. Me personally, though, like, and I've said this to you, in I guess my lifetime fandom, whatever. I'll make the argument, even though it's just second round, that both these teams are contenders, right? Because the Warriors are
Mhm.
defending champs, the Lakers have LeBron, and they look like a different team, right? So if you're this far, you're still a contender. The Warriors and the Lakers in my fandom have never played each other in a series when they've both been considered contenders. They played in '87 when Sleepy Floyd dropped 51, and then I forgot they played in '91, which is the
Yeah.
last time they played in a series,
We got
and that was the Run
smoked.
TMC era. Yeah, and like that was still the Lakers and Magic, Showtime still
Mhm.
at their peak, and then we won't count the play-in because that was whatever, but that there's never been a NorCal SoCal rivalry for the Warriors Lakers, right? There was the Kings, but they're gone. So that's what is so fascinating to me. Like I'm excited for that. I'm excited
Yeah.
for like I wanted to see the Lakers Grizzlies series so that all the the millions of Lakers fans could just like give Dylan Brooks
Yeah.
hell. Like I'm tired of having to deal with that from a Warriors fan
Yep.
perspective. So like go through that, and he got it right. It
He
was
got
great.
it.
The
Well,
Lakers
they
fans did exactly what I'd hoped they would do.
they pulled through on that account, and surprise, surprise, he skipped his media responsibilities.
That's weak, man. That is
Surprise,
weak, right?
surprise.
If you're gonna be Mr. like I talk trash, you got to be able to talk after you lose too.
Yep.
Grow up.
Yep.
But the Lakers' size and their overall depth potentially worry me. And half joking, I'm worried about Austin Reeves getting a ton of foul calls. I don't know why he gets so many foul calls. I don't know.
I don't know either, man. So yeah, I mean, same thing. I mean, one of the things watching that Memphis series versus ours is, and maybe this works in our favor a little bit, is and gives me a little bit less concern. Still a lot of concern. A little less concern because it's gonna be slower series. The Lakers don't play at the same pace that the Kings do. And that was an issue for the Warriors, like keeping up with the Kings, and the Kings would just run it down our throats. Like even after made baskets, like how many baskets did they get doing that, right? Before our defense was set, and they had the personnel to do it. I don't think the Lakers have the personnel to do it. They're much more walk it up kind of team. So I think in terms of the quick turnaround, that helps a little bit. I mean, the the turnaround in their personnel. I mean, we all liked to clown on Palinka and Russ, and damn it, they turned it around. It almost feels like that Russ Lakers team. It's hard to remember. And
Mm-hmm.
they remade that team into a much more balanced team, but still retaining their identity of a larger team. They got more shooting. Malik Beasley didn't come through too much, but he will at some point against us because we give up threes like that. So
Mm-hmm.
will Looney be able to hold up? Looney and Draymond be able to hold up against AD? And which kind of AD are we going to see? He's been playing incredible, and then there's a few games here and there where it kind of feels like he doesn't have it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean his physical shape is always in question, right? And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so, and then LeBron, I think he has a foot injury. I'm not exactly sure what kind, but that has led to him being at a slower pace and on top of being old. So I um, like our lack of athleticism is going to be a little less pronounced. I mean, we still have a lack of size, but I think we have good wings. I think
Mm-hmm.
the ascendance of Moody being like playable is nice. They're gonna have to fold in some more guys in the rotation. Like we've got to see Kaminga get another shot. I'd really like to see Dante pick it up a little bit. He seemed rattled, which I was surprised by. Just
Mm-hmm.
lengthen that rotation out. Poole, got by tonight by in that King series. It's kind of like who's going to be better, him or Monk, right? And Monk basically was better in almost every game.
Mm-hmm.
So can Poole get back to being, just like steady? Like, I mean, those words don't seem to go together. A steady Poole, but but we can hope, right? Keep
Right.
the hope alive. And so, yeah, the size is going to be an issue, but I like our wings. I'm hoping to see Wiggins, continue his like ascendance into being our second best player. Um, so I think we have a great shot in this series, and being the home team is going to help us a lot. We're familiar with LeBron; he's familiar with us, and blows up some of our stuff. So it's going to be a good one, a California classic.
Yeah.
It would have been
Yeah.
interesting if the Clippers had made it and it was an all California like every round. That would have been pretty interesting. But
I mean, do you know how little travel that would be?
that'd be
Legit, like
amazing.
that would be
Yeah,
amazing. They wouldn't leave the state for
yeah,
like a month and a half or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
But with this particular series, yeah, I mean, I definitely think the Warriors have a shot. I mean, they're the home team,
Hmm.
and that whole thing about them winning on the road, I think it was kind of a mental hurdle, perhaps. And
Hmm.
because it's so stacked from their regular season, that's where all of our doubt comes from, right? Because they haven't proven it, and every time they turn the corner, it's like, oh, here's a game 6 that we're just going to punt. But at the end of the day, this team winning on the road, the guys who played, you know, 30, almost 40 minutes in this one are the ones who have no doubt they can win on the road. So like
Hmm.
to me, again, that's where I have a little bit of confidence in them per se, just to be able to do it. It's always about if they come with the right attitude and the right uh just I guess respect for the game and
Yeah,
respect for the opponent.
yeah, yeah.
I felt like in game 6, they just thought that the Kings would roll over. And to their credit, they did not. They took advantage of that lackadaisicalness from the Warriors. So in this one, we've said, we've talked about this online, offline, podcast, off podcast, like throughout the season, especially second half. It's like, which team can beat the Warriors in a 7-game series? In theory, any of them can, but I like the Warriors' chances to at least push it as far as they can,
Yep.
right? Like if they lost today with the effort that they started the game off with, they're just gonna get beat by a team that is better than them,
Hmm.
right? And when then Steph did what Steph does, right? If like we said earlier, if they lost, they would have been by a team that's better than them. But for the Lakers, it's like, you know, I expect to see Kaminga, right?
Yep.
Like, somebody in the Discord pointed out that the Lakers left Kaminga alone in the last couple of games. They left him wide open at the 3-point line. They didn't challenge his shot, but to me, it's like that doesn't matter. Like it's still a better matchup, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they leave him open, then fine. He has to be able to figure out what to do with it. He has to be able to punish them, either hitting a three or driving and kicking or driving getting to the cup or whatever. So just because they leave him open doesn't mean that he can't contribute, especially because Moody has impressed me. I can't believe we're seeing so much Moody, which is great, and he's meeting the moment really, really impressively. To
Yeah.
be honest,
Yeah.
he's not messing up. He's playing within himself. He's in the systems and all that stuff. Uh, but he's we saw so much Lamb. It's like, why are you going to play Lamb so much if you're not even going to play him in the postseason? You're going to opt for Moody instead,
Lord
right? Like,
only knows. Oh my
like what
goodness.
did you just know? Moody was so mature at age 20 that he's going to be able to perform for his team in the
It was
playoffs.
the same thing
But
last year, right? Like,
exactly. So in this, it's like Moody will play, he'll get his chance, but then throwing bodies against LeBron, Wiggins, Clay,
mm-hmm.
Draymond,
Mm-hmm.
in ways, maybe some Gary Payton,
Oh.
and then Kaminga,
Yeah.
right? Like because he's a body that you can put on something like that. And then you have, if they run out a big lineup with like LeBron and Vanderbilt, Anthony Davis, and whomever else is big on their team, how do you match that? And are you going to go with four guards? And I
Yeah.
think also for DiVincenzo, I'm hoping that this series against Sac, it was clear that it wasn't a great matchup for him defensively. Hopefully, he can come back stronger
Yeah.
in the next one. I mean, as a fan, it's like clean slate. All the
Yep. Brand new
matchup
series.
problems, you wipe that out, and
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, let's see the next matchup and see who fits and how that goes. And Wiggins always comes after LeBron. So on that point, it's like, well, LeBron is old, and yeah, he's still good, obviously. And I'm kind of joking calling him old, but like, but Wiggins is good, and he's like in his prime. He's still
Right.
like in his late mid late 20s. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So he has an advantage in some respects.
I think it's going to be interesting what the Lakers are going to do against Steph. I mean, the Kings had they had defensive guards. I mean, Fox was decent. Mitchell was really good on Steph. Davis was good in Game 6, and well, had his issues in Game 7. But I don't think the Lakers have any guards as good as that. Defensively, I'm sure Lakers fans would be Austin Reeves. But
Dennis Schroeder.
But no, you're gonna tell me Schroeder or Russell's gonna check Steph. I think that's gonna be a problem. I feel like I've seen Vanderbilt on Steph here and there. But I don't think that's something that's gonna hold up over time. I mean, people do try to put size on him. And that is something that he generally figures out. So it's gonna be one of those chess matches. Also, do you put much stock in the Lakers having a rookie coach? I mean, does that make a difference?
I'm hoping for a bounce back series from Jordan Poole, right?
Yes.
Like, he won't be facing a Malik Monk opposite from him. He'll be facing the foul gathering Austin Reeves and such.
I always worry about there is something about that arena too. The crypto used to be Staples. What do you think? You like it when they dim the lights? You like that look?
Back in the day, the Forum was all lit up, and then Oakland Coliseum was dimmed out. Right? It was like that. They had that effect, and then probably not exactly the same time, but at a certain point, the Warriors, they put all the lights up, and then the Lakers went dark. I actually think the Lakers may have gone dark because they had a light issue, and then they just decided to keep it that way. I could be wrong.
I think that's what I asked you too when you told me that, because I was like, oh, did the Oakland Coliseum just have bad lights or something?
No, but the Lakers, they had lights on, but then like the lights weren't working one game and they decided to leave them off. I think that's what happened. I could be wrong, whatever. But like, I do like the lights off personally. I think that's a great vibe, a great feeling. It makes it a little bit more
Theatrical.
dramatic.
Yeah.
Theatrical is like a gigantic black box theater.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll take it. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I asked because I always wondered, like, you know, it, I feel like, the Lakers games that I've seen the Warriors play, even regular season ones, it's like they rarely seem to shoot well there. And it's like, does
Mhm.
that have anything to do with it? I'm sure it doesn't.
Well, they can't go out and party, hopefully, during the series. I think that's something that LA is always undefeated with, right?
Yep.
And go to the clubs and whatnot. It's always in the second round, I guess, where I could be wrong, but like I noticed it last year. Second round is when all of a sudden the games, there's very little rest between games. That's
Yeah.
probably because there's fewer games, fewer teams. And so the NBA is trying to like, they're like, okay,
Yep.
let's fit them all together now and keep it seamless. So that's going to be an issue. The Warriors played an extra game and have the Lakers have, I guess, 2.5, 3 days rest, whereas
Mm-hmm.
the Warriors just get one day
One.
off.
Yep.
Warriors are old. Lakers are, LeBron is old, and AD is in his
Has an old
prime, but
body.
his body's old.
Yeah.
So it could be detrimental to either team. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. Also, there was that time when Steph, remember, like when he slipped at uh when he slipped trying to go for like a fast break 1-on-0 dunk or something
Oh,
at
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Staples. It was like the most embarrassing thing I'd ever seen. He just slipped and landed on his butt, and that was odd. So like, I don't want to see none of that. I don't
No.
want to see any of that
No.
ever again.
No. Hey, we're Warriors fans. How badly do you want to beat the Lakers? How badly do you want to beat LeBron? I I I I just wanted this last series because I just want to keep winning. I want to keep this going as long as possible. But this is extra juice to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to beat them so badly. Like, give me another day
Yeah.
to get that ramped up. But my initial thought, I want to win. I don't want to beat
Yeah.
LeBron.
I mean,
I want to beat the Lakers. Like, I don't want to hear it. Right? Like, this is yeah, I just don't want to hear it. I mean, this is one of the things we talked about is like, oh man, if they play Lakers, it's going to be talking about legacies and and that in that sense, it's going to be great theater. But we're in for a couple of weeks of just mind-numbingly inane talk about legacies and whose era this is.
right. And that's why I tune out of most of the chatter, which is really, really good for for not getting aggravated about things.
Or
Yeah.
aggregated.
Yeah, exactly. I really, really, like I said before the series with the Kings, I like the Kings. If we lost, I would be pulling for the Kings. Exact opposite
Yeah,
for the Lakers,
100%.
because it's two layers, right? You want to beat the Lakers, plain and simple, and then you want to beat LeBron because before the trade deadline, and Pelinka made all those, you know, weird moves or like weirdly awesome moves for them. uh Still can't believe Danny Ainge did
Danny
that.
Ainge.
But I was like, okay, great. Warriors, beginning of the season especially, it was like Warriors, Steph can get a fifth ring. LeBron, I see no path to it. But
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing. You want to like put a stop to that so
Yep.
that Steph can keep going and that LeBron, and these are those things, right? Like if Steph, Draymond, Clay, Andre Iguodala get their fifth rings, then that's a lot of rings, man. That's a lot
Yeah.
of rings, and that will be really impressive. So, like, the further we go, the more you want it, and yeah, I mean, this is the matchup that the NBA. I've wanted this. I've wanted this because I don't even know if I finished this thought, but I've said this to you: the Warriors and the Lakers not having been contenders ever, like legit contenders ever at the same time. It's like when the Warriors were good and then the Lakers got LeBron, they were bad. And then the Warriors had their two down years,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Lakers won their bubble title, and then the Warriors got good again, and then Lakers got bad, right? Like they only crossed paths in that
Yeah.
mediocre
Yeah.
play-in game, which is whatever. And so now they're both there. So it's going to be a really, really entertaining, aggravating, frustrating
Yeah.
hair pulling out type series, I think.
Yeah. I just want to see, I want to see greatness from our guys. I want to see goodness from our young guys. I want to see something complete, like I want to
Mm-hmm,
see this
mm-hmm,
team like functioning how we imagine it could, right?
mm-hmm.
Because it
Yeah.
hasn't, right?
Yeah.
Where the two timelines become one, you know, and just become this
Yeah.
force, right?
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
see, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. That's why I'm hoping like Moody taking his step forward. I hope Kaminga can come back in and contribute and not get like, pulled after 2 minutes,
Yeah.
and I mean, if I recall correctly, I know my prediction in the our overall playoff bracket. I had the Lakers beating the Grizzlies, and I said Warriors in 6. I mean, I'll stick with that, but there's some questions I have about that in the sense that Game 6 will be in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, the Warriors would have to win in on LeBron's home floor, whereas like coming back, winning in Game 7 at Chase Center. So I'll stick with it, but it really, really. I mean, we'll know what we're gonna get in Game 1. Like right now, it's kind of unclear because it really depends on which Warriors team. And then you're the one that pointed out to me that the Lakers, they can look really bad. The thing about the Warriors versus Lakers is at least the Warriors, their core has played together for a really long time.
Yeah.
The Lakers, they've had some time to gel, but you can't replace the amount of time the Warriors have played together. So that's something that I'm hoping could be a flaw with this Lakers team when they run into those ruts that the Warriors can take advantage of. Hopefully there's more ruts for the Lakers than the Warriors.
Yeah. Yeah. God, I don't know if I'm ready to make a prediction. I guess there's only one day. There's only one day. So, dang, I'm gonna go with Warriors in 7. They just, yeah, we're gonna see another one, and it'll be a classic. And I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I won't say anything more than that.
Okay.
Go
Okay.
Warriors.
Good. Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. Do you have any final thoughts on this?
Oh, that's it. Gonna
Whatever.
go hit the ice bath now and get ready for Game 1.
Yeah, I'm gonna rest my knees.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.
Y'all can find Aram on Twitter at Aram Collier, ARAMCOLLIER. Whew. Wow. That's it.